Something historic just happened in Africa. A bold and unexpected move by Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional leader of Burkina Faso, has set the entire continent abuzz. Traoré sent a personal letter to all 54 African heads of state, urging them to put aside differences and unite for a stronger, self-reliant Africa. His message, simple but powerful: Africa must stand together, free from foreign domination. But what shocked the public wasn't just the letter, it was the reactions it triggered. Some presidents responded with open arms, supporting Traoré's vision of unity. But a long list of African leaders flatly rejected the call, some even insinuating that Traoré should step down, questioning his legitimacy, since he came to power through a coup rather than an election. This divide has exposed a deep ideological rift among African leaders, one side pushing for independence and solidarity, the other clinging to foreign influence and internal power games. Let's begin with those who refuse to support Traoré's message. First on the list is Paul Biya, Cameroon's long-serving leader, who has ruled for over 40 years with little improvement to his country's infrastructure or public welfare. His rejection didn't surprise many, as he's often labeled a puppet of foreign interests. Then there's Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo of Equatorial Guinea, another leader who declined the call. His case shocked the public even more. His vice president is his own son, a blatant case of nepotism that many say symbolizes the decay of democratic values in his country. Emerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe also turned down the unity proposal, as did Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire, a country where, allegedly, there have been covert operations aimed at destabilizing Traoré's government. From Felix Tshisekedi of the DRC, who continues to rely heavily on Western military support, to Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, one of Africa's longest-serving rulers. The list of presidents refusing to stand with Traoré continues to grow, and it's raising questions. Why are so many unwilling to support unity? What do they fear? In Liberia, President Joseph Boakai also gave a cold response. Critics claim he's aligned with external forces and doesn't believe in Pan-African cooperation. Meanwhile, Algeria's Abdelmadjid Tebboune and Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea also refused, making it clear that Traoré's call for unity wasn't welcome across the board. The president of Djibouti, Ismail Omar Guelleh, followed the same path: silence and rejection. But perhaps the most controversial rejection came from Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As the leader of Africa's most populous country and economic powerhouse, many expected him to take the lead in promoting unity. Instead, he was the first to officially reject Traoré's proposal, saying he wouldn't cooperate with a leader who wasn't democratically elected. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa added fuel to the fire, claiming he could never work with Traoré because of Traoré's ties to Julius Malema, one of Ramaphosa's fiercest political critics. Egypt's Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Lazarus Chakwera of Malawi, and Hassan Sheikh Mohammed of Somalia all shared similar rejections, drawing lines between so-called legitimate governance and what they label as military regimes. Even Ethiopia's leadership under Abiy Ahmed and Patrice Talon of Benin refused the unity proposal. These rejections continued down a long list that includes the presidents of Burundi, Sao Tome and Principe, the Comoros, Tanzania, Cape Verde, Sudan, Zambia, Morocco, Lesotho, and Mauritania, all opting out of Traoré's Pan-African vision. But perhaps the strongest rebuke came from Julius Maada Bio, the president of Sierra Leone and current ECOWAS chair. Not only did he reject Traoré's call, he went further to demand that Traoré step down immediately, stating that Burkina Faso cannot be led by someone who didn't come to power through a public vote. Lastly, Kenya's President William Ruto publicly criticized Traoré's efforts, stating that there's no room for negotiation with undemocratic regimes. The statement came only weeks after Burkina Faso's top security commander visited Nairobi for diplomatic talks, making Ruto's reversal all the more confusing. Many now question whether his stance is genuine or politically motivated by outside pressure. What this shows us is clear. Traoré's letter wasn't just a message, it was a test of who truly believes in African unity. and who remains chained to colonial systems and personal power. Despite all the pushback, Traore's message continues to echo across the continent. Some see him as a rebel, others as a revolutionary. But one thing is certain: he sparked a conversation that Africa can no longer ignore. Africa is at a crossroads, and something unprecedented has just unfolded. Following a wave of political tension and continental division, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional leader of Burkina Faso, wrote a letter to all 54 African heads of state. In that letter, he called for African unity, cooperation, and a break from colonial legacies. His message was bold, clear, and urgent. The time has come for Africa to stand together. But instead of bringing the continent closer, this letter has revealed a dramatic divide. Several leaders across Africa rejected Traoré's proposal, while a growing number have stepped forward in full support. Among those who declined, one name stood out: the president of Togo, Faure. Many believe he holds more power than the nation's institutions themselves. Despite his controversial leadership, marked by years of control and influence, handed down from a political dynasty, he rejected Traoré's call for unity. His stance only added fuel to the frustration of those questioning why so many African leaders resist the idea of standing together. Another figure who turned down the unity call is King Mswati III of Eswatini, known for ruling Africa's last absolute monarchy. In Guinea-Bissau, President Umaro Sissoco Embalo also refused to align with Traoré. From Madagascar, President Andry Rajoelina distanced himself from the movement, while Libya's interim government, influenced by years of foreign intervention, unsurprisingly declined as well, given Traoré's vocal support for Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the son of Libya's former leader. In Mozambique, Daniel Chapo took a similar position, expressing no interest in joining Traoré's vision. But despite the disappointments, there's another side to this story: a growing number of African leaders who say yes to the idea of uniting the continent. At the forefront is Paul Kagame, president of Rwanda, a country that has rebuilt itself through discipline, reform, and resilience. Kagame applauded Traoré's message, calling it a necessary step toward reclaiming Africa's destiny. Then came Gideon Duma Boko, the president of Botswana, who openly voiced his desire to collaborate with Traoré and build a united Africa. From Angola, João Lourenço lent his support, stating that Africa must abandon isolation and begin thinking as one bloc. In Ghana, former President John Mahama praised Traoré's courage, saying it's time Africa values integrity and youth-driven leadership. Senegal's president also joined in support, recognizing Traoré as a young voice in a continent hungry for transformation. One of the most notable backers is President Mohamed Dabayatno of Chad, who highlighted the need for regional independence and cooperation, particularly in security matters. Also adding her voice was Namibia's president, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, Africa's first elected female head of state. Her endorsement was seen as a major boost for women leadership in Pan-African discourse. Gambia's President Adama Barrow echoed similar sentiments, stating that the continent must break free from dependence and move toward a shared vision. South Sudan's Salva Kiir didn't hold back either, warning that African states have been used and manipulated for too long, and that it's time to break the cycle. From North Africa, Tunisian President Kais Saied gave full backing to Traoré's initiative, signaling a rare but hopeful alignment between North and Sub-Saharan African leadership. President Brice Oligui Nguema of Gabon also came forward, committing to work hand-in-hand with Burkina Faso to foster cooperation across the continent. And in Niger, General Abdourahmane Chiani, who took power after a military takeover, showed solidarity with Traoré, both leaders having faced criticism from Western-aligned blocs. Finally, Assimi Goïta, the transitional president of Mali, stood firmly by Traoré, calling his letter a turning point for the future of Africa. These leaders, from east to west, north to south, have proven that despite political differences, there's a growing movement ready to reclaim African sovereignty. It's not just about politics anymore. It's about dignity, independence, and the will of the people. For every rejection, a new supporter rises. For every critic, a defender steps up. What Traore has ignited isn't just a political debate, it's a continental awakening. If you're new here, thank you for tuning in. This channel exists to bring you the stories the mainstream won't cover, especially those that matter for Africa's future. If you believe in truth, unity, and independent voices, make sure to subscribe, turn on the bell icon, and share this video with everyone who cares about real change. We'll continue bringing you updates on the African movement for unity, transparency, and progress. Your support matters. It helps us keep doing the deep research that mainstream outlets won't. You can also contribute via Super Thanks or Super Chat during premieres. Every small donation helps us stay ad-free and authentic. Remember, this isn't just about headlines, it's about Africa rising on its own terms. Until next time, game over.